think they are wrong. No.
No way. Now go like this, and then remove your arms.
Go. So easy.
What the heck?
Oh! Ow! What the heck? How'd you?
Elbow.
Hand.
Like that?
And hold.
Oh! I didn't know men couldn't do that. It's fine. I guess it's because of the women's birthing hips, right?
It would have been funnier if we had cut to a scene of all of us trying it. All three of us just face planting.
Heck no.
That wasn't as funny as I expect. I'm really disappointed.
I know. Look, I'll be honest. There's been why would you be shadow banned? I don't know.
Jimmy Aiken, yeah, you're shadow banned, dude.
I've been there's been like a big drought of funny videos to search.
Well, there's all kinds of funny videos, but you won't let me play.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Well,
wait a minute. I take it back. I take it back. I don't know why I didn't open with this, Rob. I'm sending it right now. This is we should have opened.
Hold on, everyone. We're restarting.
Merry Christmas from the Abrahamic Faith Center. It's Michael Lofton. Deck the halls with boughs of nuance. Fa la 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 la. Reason with the schismatics. Fa la 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 la.
Shout out to Christian Mario.
Tuning in. Fa la 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 la. Gavin Wortland with my friends. Fa la 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 la. I'm gonna need you to unmute, bro. It's Jay with Jay's analysis. Defending Pope Francis from schismatics. Fa la 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 la. Byzantine right Catholics. Fa la 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 la. Dawn, we now are Skittles apparel. Fa la 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 la. Gavin Orland singing iconoclastic carols. La 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 la. I just really don't understand how you guys could anathematize me. You guys are just not nice. Accretions are affecting the gospel. Gabby Orland. People clown masses is where Michael often goes. Hold on, Jay, now that's uncharitable. La 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 la. Reason and theology. Let's end the song before it becomes unbearable.
Oh, that's way better,
dude. All right,
I'm sorry, the funniest thing I've seen in a long time.
I should have opened with that. I apologize, everybody. Yo, if you guys are not subscribed to Christian Mario's YouTube channel, definitely go and subscribe to him. He has mainly just like parody videos goofing on those. He goofs on Protestantism and Michael.
And if you're wondering what the heck Anthony's saying, go to Christian Mario's.
No, it's Mario. Christian Mario. Oh man. So we were supposed to go on last night. Mario Lofton. I honestly just want to have him do a full album as Lofton.
So true.
Yes.
Yeah, we were supposed to go on last night. Rob was a little under the weather.
Oh man.
I have had an insane
total man flu. I almost died.
Yeah. So dude, what happened the night me and you ended the show when you got sick?
I don't know what that was. That was like a stomach bug, just like hit me, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, they're gonna see me throw up all over my computer."
Was it that, or was it a continuation of that other thing you were dealing? Remember a while back you were dealing with like the
gallbladder thing? No,
yeah,
that's all over.
That's all taken care. Okay, good.
I'm hoping so.
Yeah. So I have had an insane week because it's every year around this time, like as the fall changes over to winter, like the last 2 weeks of November and the first 2 weeks of December, I fall back into cluster headaches. And they have been so bad, like unbelievably bad. So I've been going to bed, like I'll go to bed at 10 and I wake up 2 hours later at 12 and I'm awake and I have to breathe oxygen. I'll fall back asleep at 12:15 and I'm back awake at 2:15 with a headache and I got to breathe out. It's like almost
pure oxygen almost has a narcotic effect. Like not like
it gets you high a little bit.
it's like a stimulant effect.
Yeah.
So I gotta imagine it's sleeping after hard to sleep.
It's not hard to fall asleep, but the problem is that I never get REM sleep because I never get past the 2 hour point. So you don't fall into REM sleep until you hit 2 hours, and it's right before I hit REM sleep, I wake up with a crushing headache. And they don't last long. They only last about 10 minutes if I have my oxygen. If I don't have oxygen, they last an hour, but it's just been every single night this week. And we did a show Tuesday night, and then I did a show Wednesday night. And then yesterday, Thursday was last night we were supposed to do one. And when you said you were sick, I was just like, can we just push this off a night, man? Like I usually work Saturdays. I'm not working tomorrow. So I don't even care if I get them tonight. I'll just try to get through. I'm worried about getting them in Italy.
Do they, because you can't just bring oxygen on
oxygen on a plane, like under any circumstance. I checked if you could like stow away anything. They will not let a pressurized tank on a plane.
Dang.
So if I'm getting them in Italy, it's going to be an awful time for me. Like I'm really just praying they wrap up before that because they come seasonally. It's really strange. I won't get them for 6-7 months, and then I'll just get like it typically is when the season change happens. So sometimes I'll get them like as the spring is falling into the fall, the winter falling into spring.
Because you started getting them in Pennsylvania last
in
October.
September because it was the summer going into the fall. Like it's usually around 4 times a year. I get them like September, December,
plus
March.
Chain smoking 4 cigars in 2 hours.
Yeah, that's
probably not. If I said I live in St. Louis, I meant St. Louis County up in Minnesota, and I just kind of doxed myself. But oh well.
Rip.
Well, more important is because there's a good Baptist church there, right?
Oh come on! I don't. Where did that come from?
Yeah, where does this meme come from?
I don't know who started the rumor, but somebody started a rumor that Rob's a Baptist, and I like it.
On Twitter, in a reply to something else, someone was like, "Are you a Baptist?" I'm like, "What? No." Well, I said, "Never have I been so offended in my life." LOL. No. And they're like, "It's a rumor going around." I'm like, what?
Well, what?
I would really like to know.
I bet I know what it's from.
Where?
I bet it's from the Carlo Acutis tweet.
Well, that's what I want to get into right now, real quick. So we are going to do Trent. There's a couple of things I want to do before Trent. I know you guys hate when we bury the lead, but there's a couple of things I want to get to. One is Rob's absolute hatred of Carlo Acutis. I don't understand why you despise this poor kid. He was a good kid. All he did was try to evangelize and speak to people about the Eucharist, and he was joyful through his death, which was cancer, I believe. And you can't stand him. And I'm trying to figure out why. What happened?
That's one way to. You would be a great.
Now Trent's gonna make a video about how I'm going to hell.
No, so you just kind of I don't know anything about Carlo Acutis, like nothing. The only thing I've ever heard about him is I've seen trads complaining that when they displayed his body, he was in like a sweatsuit and jeans or like a sweatshirt and jeans, and people were like, that's not how saints is supposed. But you had said in your tweet, like, there's nothing that's that remarkable about his life.
No, stop.
Wouldn't Anthony make a great CNN debate host? He'd just be like, "You said this, you horrible piece of crap." How do you respond?
What you're saying is,
of course, Anthony can't.
What's his last name? Acutis? What is it?
I don't know, honestly.
Rip Anthony.
It's Carlos Acutis, isn't it? Is that not, I don't. Guys,
hold on. Before we go further, we should read the one super chat so far for $20.
And you're right on the conservative women thing. At least with AOC, you know what you're getting. A former is subversive. Also, you see the clip on X with Andrew Wilson, and that Deborah girl called her out as an undercut. Every single woman who is in public who claims to be conservative is at heart a feminist. Okay, and maybe not every single one, but the majority are, right? So you see this whole thing going on with Nancy Mace right now. Nancy Mace, to me, is just a trans woman. Like, she graduated from she was like the first woman to graduate from some military thing, and she even poses every argument in the same language a feminist would. She'll say things like, I am a survivor of a SA, and I have PTSD. Like, she uses all the same language a feminist would use. I understand everybody is like, oh yeah, this is so base. She's going after trans bathrooms and stuff. It's like, yeah, great. But like, to me, it would be based if you said women shouldn't be in Congress at all. Like, I don't care about trans bathrooms in Congress. Or
I mean, her being the first woman at the Citadel is just as Okay, not just as much, but it's a form of transgenderism. Just as,
That's what I mean.
yeah.
It's she's the first woman to do what a man does. It's like, I don't care for these women. I don't care for them at all. I really don't like her. I don't like Lauren Boebert. I don't like MTG. I think nearly all of these women go abandon their families to be in the spotlight, to go and be the girl bossing the Capitol, and most of them cheat on their husbands. I have no patience for any of them. I don't find them based. I don't think they're so cool. Like, just go home and be a mom. You don't belong being in the spotlight in the Capitol fighting for this stuff. Like, let men do this stuff. I have no patience for it. I have no desire to watch it. I'm not going to ever like amplify it. I don't really care. And the thing we got into last time, where I was kind of like with Tulsi Gabbard never pretended she was a conservative, is all I was saying. Like, she doesn't bother me as much. AOC doesn't bother me as much. She's not a woman going around preaching family values and cheating on her husband. That's what gets me. Grover,
no,
much appreciated, Grover.
No, don't appreciate that.
No, I like
going to
Grover.
expect more.
No, I
He's
like
going to want to
Grover.
be treated super special now.
Grover, when you look at, if you go into the YouTube, like the our thing that we could see, like all our analytics and stuff, and you see like the most active members and like people who interact the most, you always see Crypto, you see Grover, and there's a couple other people you see. I get your
just ban him.
but
But yeah, back to Acutis. He's not Mexican, Anthony. It's Carlo, not Carlos.
Oh, Carlo Acutis. That's what it is. Okay, Carlos. What do you want from me? Let's see. Community.
You're Italian.
Community spotlight. So, med worker or Warracow, Gary Cummings, Jim Pine, and M. Proximus are always in our highlights for our community spotlight. Okay, so Carlo Acutis.
So
what's your problem with him?
Oh, all my tweet really said is that, like, I don't get the fascination. Like, I don't get the mob expecting everyone to love this kid. That's all.
Well, can you tell me a little bit about him? Like, what is it? I mean, I know the general argument that I've seen people make is that he joyfully suffered through his cancer diagnosis, which is especially for a young kid, like, there is something, you got to put his age in context, right?
Yeah, but
I understand your point, right? Like,
I know kids who have.
Your point was, I don't really want my Saints to be just like me. Like, I kind of want them to be on like another level where it's almost like, whoa, that's something I really have to try to aspire to, right?
Mm-hmm. Like, okay, so in no way do I think he's not holy, or not pious or anything like that. I'm not even arguing he shouldn't be canonized. I guess so. Number one, I have a problem with the people who want to force you to have a devotion to him. And two, I guess if I have an issue with his canonization itself, it's like, I grew up really, I would have been a couple years older than him. So I grew up in the same period as a cradle Catholic, right? I knew a lot of 15-year-old Catholics, and a lot of them, of course, were more your normal 15-year-olds, but there were quite a few 15-year-old Catholics I knew who would have been described by people in the same way people describe Carlo.
Okay.
Now, of course, I don't know any of those that died of cancer, for instance, but I also know of kids and teenagers who suffer cancer joyfully. Yeah. Right. So I have not had one person pick out one aspect of Carlo that I haven't seen in someone else of a similar of that age. It's not super common, of course.
Yeah.
But it's not.
I'll tell you what I was like at 15 compared to him.
I know,
though, Rob. We don't want to get into that again. Yeah, for anybody that wasn't around for our last Locals episode, I told some very wild stories about my teenage years. But okay, so what about Blessed Giorgio Frassati? Because he's being canonized the same day, right?
I don't know much about him.
Okay, so I've seen a couple of things on Giorgio Frassati, and they were pretty like beautiful presentations. I think I probably saw them on Formed or something like that, but I forgot. I'd have to go back and look him up again, but he definitely lived a very inspiring life. He seemed
Nick. I need a translation here, bud.
Pierre Giorgio Frassati. Yeah, is it Sigma? Okay, so I don't know much either. So that's why I'm
Sigma is more like a more relaxed alpha or something, right?
Yeah, it's not a beta.
A Sigma is an alpha who doesn't need a pack to control. Essentially, that's essentially what it is. So it's like he's like the lone wolf. He does his own thing.
He seemed similar to like a John Paul II type figure. Like I know he loved the outdoors. He would go skiing a lot and stuff like that. But he did. From what I remember, he did live a pretty heroic life. Where Carlo, I feel like, I feel like the point of his canonization is because the church is seeing there's so few young people that are inspired by the faith, but it seems like the church does everything they can to not inspire young men to want to be in the faith. It's almost like a little bit of a contradiction. Like this kid started a website tracking miracles and Eucharistic miracles, and he did his best to evangelize and stuff. Like he just seemed like a really good kid.
So this was brand new to me. So in the comments, there's two types of comments or replies to my tweet. One was the reply from the people who want to force you to have devotion to him, and the other was usually some sort of conspiracy theory. And like there was one I never heard of before, and that was that the website wasn't created by him and that someone else made it and put his name on it specifically for this purpose. Wow. And it is a little suspicious because that website was released only days before his death.
Really?
Wow.
No, I don't believe it. I honestly don't.
I don't believe it.
But I'm like, huh.
Yeah, guys,
I didn't know there was conspiracy theories
because
about this.
I can feel the comments already. Like I can see like the people are gonna rage in the comments. I don't know anything about this kid. I'm actually gonna look him up a little bit. I'm gonna do a little research on him, and I'll come back with a more formed opinion. And this is absolutely
yes,
absolutely they are. So
I would say they always have been to some extent.
Oh, really? Okay. But there's
politically,
I don't know.
But it takes a lot of money for these things, like to hire investigators, to hire canon lawyers, to advance the cause. It takes a lot of money, and I know there was a ton of money and influence behind Acutis's process. I guess his family is very, very influential in the region, and there's a lot of money there.
Okay, so somebody posted the question the other day, like, who's somebody that who's somebody you think should have had a canonization process started who never has?
Catherine of Aragon.
I have always said Catherine. I know you think that, Nick. That's never going to happen, though. I have always thought
because of politics, though. That's why it will never happen.
Yeah, it's gonna happen.
It may happen 200-300 years from now.
It will happen, and then John Paul II will probably be decanonized, and everything will go back to normal.
All right, so you're getting a little crazy. My thing is, especially for what the culture is going through with marriage right now, it'll never happen under this Pope. But Catherine of Aragon, what she endured under King Henry VIII and remained faithful throughout the horrific embarrassment that man put her through, and she remained holy and faithful throughout that whole thing, insisted she was his wife the whole time, even after Henry put her away basically, and then started his own church to get around her.
# believe her.
Her story is one of those stories that if you're trying to promote marriage, it's like you can't, but with the current annulment process and like all the things that are happening right now. And this is another good one, but I would say
for marriage, that would be great. The Carls.
I would say I go Alexander VI over Savonarola.
That's because you watched the.
I think Savonarola should have been burned at the stake as he was.
Of course, be honest, is all that you know about him from the HBO show about the border?
100%. 1000%. Like zero else.
Rip.
Like literally nothing else. And that's all I need to know. And that story, I'm sticking to it. That's what I believe, and I'm going with it. Yes, we actually do have to have Alan Rule on.
We have.
Precatory is. I was going to say. Well, you had him on election night, but I left.
Yeah, he was cool. He was a cool dude. We should
Yeah, I
have him
like
on. I'll have him if you guys want in like a year. I'll have him on the stream, and we'll he and I can just stream the Canadian elections. Watch Trudeau suffer. Be really niche, but it'd be fun. It'd be fun to at least
It
watch.
would be really niche. Yeah.
Okay, so now, all right. There's one other thing I want to get to before Trent. I got a video I want to play, and when I watch this video, you want to talk about heroic virtue? What this guy did, I watched it, and I'm like, I don't know if I would have it. I don't know if I would have the virtue to do what this guy did. And
Are you saying this guy should be canonized?
I'm saying what he did here. What we're about to watch. Okay, what we're about to watch is something that it shocked me. Like, I was like, no freaking way. All right, so everybody prepare themselves, and then we're going to get into a moral conversation about how would you handle this, and I want to hear honesty.
I have a feeling we're going to all watch this, and we're all going to be like, not surprising. And you're
Why
going
did
to
I
be
get
like,
the same thought?
No, this is a tricky one, man.
You're going to be the one shocked, and everyone's going to be like, no, we just do the right thing, man.
I don't think so. I don't know, man. Maybe. I don't know. Let's see. So let's watch this video. Let's see what you guys think. Okay, so this guy buys.
Is this
a
breaking
couch.
news from 14 years ago? Like most
Maybe,
videos?
Probably.
This guy bought a couch from a thrift shop. Okay, that's all I'm going to set it up as. He bought a couch at a thrift shop at his man cave, and this is what happened.
First off, man cave, super.
That's what they say in the
Super gay, yeah.
Last month, he purchased a couch for his man cave, and this weekend, he made a shocking discovery. It was filled with thousands of dollars in cash.
Still have to pinch myself to make sure I'm not dreaming or something. And
Kirby says that he had this ottoman for a few weeks before noticing that it was uncomfortable. And that's when his daughter decided to open it up.
then she started pulling out this.
Oh my goodness.
A total of $43,170 was found in the ottoman cushion. But Kirby says he didn't feel right keeping the money, so he reached out to the restore to find out who had donated the couch. Turns out it was Kim Fouth Newberry. The couch originally belonged to her grandfather, and he died last year.
It's just crazy.
Today, the restore held a big surprise for Fouth Newberry to give back every dollar found in the cushion.
Why he's got money in cushions? I don't know.
Complete awesome. Like, we talked about that.
Kirby says an attorney told him that he had no legal obligation to give the money back, but he felt like he had to morally. And that's something that Rick Merling, the store manager.
Okay, so is that
Fred Simon?
That's what I.
Fred does pop up in strange places. I'll say that. Okay, so you buy a couch from a thrift store. You sit on it. It feels funny. You open it up, and there's 43 grand. Now,
Here's the thing: if I buy a couch from a thrift store and I sit on it and it feels funny, I assume that's because I bought a couch from a thrift store, and that's all the further it goes.
All right, but you see the position. You do find the money, right?
Okay.
So I'm gonna now look. There's a chance there was 150 grand in there, and the guy goes, "Yeah, I found 40 grand." You know, there is that chance. There is that chance. There was a 150 in there, and the guy goes, "Oh,
your
yeah, there was
your automatic
43,000.
assumption.
Look at
is
what a
that he
great
put-
guy I am," you know. And then everybody goes, "Let's start a GoFundMe for him," and then he winds up making $1 million. You know, there's always that chance. But let's take the story at face value.
You instantly want to somehow play it to your advantage. I love it.
I'm not. No, I'm just.
So
I
Italian.
just know human. I know the human condition. Okay, and
You
I
sure
know
you're not a little Amish?
just a little Italian is not. You know, you always got a little shadiness on the minds when you're Italian. So, all right, but let's just take the story at face value. Let's say the guy finds 43,000. He goes back to the thrift store, finds out who donated it, and gives all that money back. Are you doing that?
Yeah. No, that's the moral thing really to do.
Of course,
I mean,
it's the moral thing to do, but it's not a sin to not do it.
well, it could be. It legitimately could be.
You-
It really
you
does depend
bought-
upon a lot of circumstances.
You
It
bought
really
the
does.
item, right? And that includes everything inside of it.
But see, that's the thing. It wouldn't be realistic. So it's like you bought the item thinking it was just the item, not necessarily someone's piggy bank. You know, you didn't expect.
What
it to be
what
someone's
if
piggy
that
bank.
guy? What if it was more uncomfortable without that money in there, and the guy used the money as stuffing? In that case, so I'm just
Look,
my Anthony side of the brain.
My
is
question.
turning.
Yeah, well, then I would say to your Anthony brain, I would say, then if you have that much money, just go buy a different couch. Go buy a
Okay, so
different couch.
Could you use
well,
the money from the couch to buy the different couch and then give the rest back?
donate
Well,
it
I mean,
all
if
to
you
the
were the guy,
local-
if you were the guy who found the money, I'd say return the money. But if you're the guy stuffing the money into the couch, just go buy a different couch.
Oh yeah, that's
Quit being a
true. That makes sense.
cheapskate.
how about this? Who called the news to tell the news about it? Right? Like, I mean, it's
Well, it
Probably
could
the
be
store.
thrift
Do you know
store.
how much? Do you know how much attention they got?
yeah, that's true. That's
Exactly.
True. So, all right, so Nick,
Exactly,
you right off
Anthony.
the bat, you open it up. It's not even crossing your mind. You're
I'm no
giving the
longer
money
calling it my lizard brain. It's definitely my Anthony brain.
That's what it's-
back. I wanna
yeah,
hear
yeah.
from
No, I
both
would
of
give
you.
it.
You're
I
giving it
would
back.
give
no
it.
matter
I would
what.
give it back, and the reason I'd give it back is just because, like, when it comes to money, if it's a large sum of money, then that could have been somebody's like legitimate life savings that they
savings,
yeah.
needed for some type of like life
Yeah.
reason. It kind of falls into the principles of like if someone was to steal a large amount of money, they are required by justice to give that money back, right, to do some type of reparation for that. And so that's what I would do, because you never know, like, if the person needed the money, if they're in like some type of crazy medical condition. That's why.
So, okay, here's what I'm going to say. I would be very tempted to keep it.
Yeah, that's one thing.
I would be awfully tempted to keep it. And part of me would try to justify it in any way I could. But I think it would eat at me. And I think I would say, this is, I don't know how I would. I think once I tried to spend the money, my conscience would just rip me apart. And I would just. Now, like I said, there's always the possibility this guy found $100K and said, "Oh, look, there was 43,000 in the couch. Here you go." And then honestly, you do something like that and people go, "Oh, what a good guy. Let's try to raise the 43 grand for him."
Here's the thing. You find that amount of money in a couch, right? I'm instantly thinking there's crime involved.
Yeah.
I am not going to say if I'm
150
grand, I'm not going to say there's only 40 grand because whoever had that other
That's No Country for Old Men
is going to kill me.
That's No Country for Old Men, right?
Exactly.
So, look, I just thought it was a really interesting story because the guy almost just didn't even think about it. And he was just like, "No, I don't feel right about keeping it. I'm going to give the money back."
This
That's just
money
good,
could
like-
be from the mob. Here you go, Father. Here's the donation.
Exactly. It's someone's blood money they're giving back.
Well, how about this? How about if you buy something at a yard sale, right? Person sells you something at a yard sale and turns out the thing's worth like 100 grand. They don't know.
I was going to wonder that too. Like, yeah, what if you, right, exactly.
Let's say you buy an antique, because that happens all the time. People go in, like, go.
That would
yard
be
sale
different.
shopping.
That would be
Well,
different. It would be different just because
even if you know beforehand, like, because there are people who, like Anthony said, go looking for things that they know are worth far more than what they're going to pay for them.
Yeah, if you knew beforehand, I would honestly say that, I mean, you should let that person know, because it's something in accordance with justice, right? It's like this person isn't aware. You let them know.
So let me give you the example. You go to a yard sale. You are an expert in Fabergé eggs. Let's just whatever. And you go to a yard sale and somebody has a Fabergé egg and they put it there and they're like $30 and it winds up. It's because I saw this on a porn shop thing. I saw the video for this. So the person had like a unique Fabergé egg that was designed by like the original guy who invented them. And the thing wound up being worth like 25, 30 grand, So she, her grandmother left it to us. She goes to the pawn shop. She's asking for $2 grand. The guy goes, "I can't give you $2 grand for this." She goes, "Why?" Because this thing's worth 25,000. I can't give you $2 grand for it. Like the guy at the pawn shop was like, "I'm not going to rob you like that." So you go to a yard sale. Somebody's got it there for $30. They think it's worthless. It's worth 10 grand. You're saying you have an obligation to tell that person.
Yeah, you do, because it's in accordance with justice. This is money. Like, it's technically their property and they should be aware of it. Now, if the person, like, if I was to buy it and I wasn't aware of it and then I found out later, then it's already my possession, because I've already fulfilled like the requirements of justice that she put forward, or the seller, whomever. But if I hadn't and I did know about it, I would let them know.
Say you're an expert in stolen Nazi art and you go to your friend's grandpa's Franz's and you find part of the amber room stolen from Russia.
Well,
so the fact that he was a Nazi changed the moral equation.
Then I will respond in the classic words of Indiana Jones: "That belongs in a museum," and I'd leave it at that.
All right. I thought this was a fun little yeah, I just thought it was a fun little experiment that we could do. So all right, it's time for the Trent stuff. I picked the Trent video, and I think Nick you picked one or two, right?
Yeah, I just picked one or two.
He picked 20.
Yeah, I picked a ton, but we'll just do one.
Nick sent over about 20 different Trent horn clips. Okay,
Trent and Jimmy and
Jimmy Aiken
and Nick. Speaking of, Nick took those and made a long video specifically about Catholic answers that he is airing in 50 minutes.
Yeah, something like that. Should come on in like 15 minutes or something like that. And it's called Catholic Answers is a Problem.
I gotta tell you, Kennedy started this with Michael Lofton as a problem. Then we did Kennedy Hall as a problem.
And then Christian Wagner did Jimmy Aiken's a problem. Now I'm doing Catholic
Aiken as a problem.
We did Kennedy Hall as a problem.
Kennedy Hall did start the is a problem videos.
That's why.
So shout out to Kennedy Hall, who I know listens to all these.
To be fair, it was Kennedy and
Joe Boca. But it was Kennedy's idea. And Kennedy listens to all of our episodes on audio.
So he heard your story then.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So if you're wondering why he hasn't texted you.
Rip.
Yeah, so if you aren't a Locals member and you want to cheat the system, if you listen to the audio podcast, you get the Locals section for free.
And it's purely out of my laziness why
that's it. Rob doesn't want to cut it
because it's a pain to cut it.
So if you do want to go and listen to that last episode, because it was pretty wild, that episode, you could just go and get it for free, or you could support us on Locals because you love our show and we're such great hosts, and this is how we keep the lights on here. And Anthony needs a new computer because I have to restart my computer every episode or my camera freezes and my lights keep breaking on me. So if you guys want to help support us, that's how the best way to do it. Or you could gift memberships like everybody's been doing all night. So gift memberships.
Still don't know what we're doing with them, so don't expect anything.
I don't even know what we get from that. Or super chats, because when you super chat, that's when Nick gets paid. So we split our super chats with Nick. Nick just got his paycheck this morning. So that's the best way to support us. Super chats, memberships, and Locals memberships. So, all right, you want to do my Trent clip first?
Yeah, you do yours.
We'll go with my Trent clip first, and I'll give my 2 cents here.
But in this episode, I'm focusing on when this happens among the right, especially those who want to be based. For example, Calvin Robinson is a conservative commenter who previously served as an Anglican priest, but is now a priest in the Old Catholic Church, a denomination that is not in communion with the Pope. Back in August, he posted a clip with the following caption: "Migrant dinghy crushed by Spanish police boat. It can be done. The Spaniards know how to reconquista." Now, I have defended a nation's ability to deport people and police its borders. You can hold that view while still having a heart that grieves when situations like this happen to migrants. Back in February, drug traffickers ran over a police speedboat in Spain and killed 2 officers.
See what he just did?
These aren't migrants. These are invaders. Just goodness gracious.
Besides that, do you see what he just did? Calvin Robinson is discussing a situation where Border Patrol stops migrant invaders. Nobody got killed.
And actually, Calvin was wrong that those weren't migrants.
What were they? Drug smugglers?
That was a drug smuggling boat too. but he thought it was migrants, so let's play it that way.
So let's go based on. But nobody died in there. Nobody was hurt. It was just, according to what he saw, it was Spanish Border Patrol stopping migrants from invading the country, and they did it by hitting the boat. There was nothing, like, it's not like people died and Calvin was heartless and callous. He just said, no, there's a way to protect your borders. The Spanish know how to do reconquista. Take back your country from these people that are invading it. The way Trent sets this video up is when being a based Catholic can send you to hell. Like, I get, look, I fear myself sometimes that I will post something and, like, I'll even put the meme up sometime.
My door open and I'm sure you all just saw a little head just pop up from right there.
So I worry sometimes that my trolling will go too far. Like, I had Joshua Charles reach out to me today because I tweeted out, yes, I worship Mary, come at me. And he's like, you know, that word could be confusing to Protestants. And it's
So
like,
he then uses yours to send his own tweet out.
so, well, this is what I said. I'm going to tell you exactly what happened. He said, again, it's English. Most people think worship and pray is something only for God. And that's because Protestantism took over the English word. I said, let's take it back. He said, that's fine, but you can't do that by using it without explaining how we are taking it back to the old definition. I've seen that genuinely cause confusion and push people away. I said, I just did. Then you gave a beautiful explanation. He said, he said, you see that guy? He said, I can't come in behind you and pick up your crap all the time, Anthony. I said,
oh, whoa, Josh. Don't even start.
He said,
don't even start.
Let me give you the line. Hang on. I can't come in behind you and pick up your crap all the time. I said, you can and you will. We're a good team.
How do you think I feel, Josh?
Rip.
Rob, you're somebody said, like, because I made the joke today when you which tweet was it? I said I don't you actually were like, wait, man, which one was it? Where I said I need AB's looking for a new co-host. What was the original tweet? Oh, lawyers.
The lawyer.
I was like, we're calling the lawyer. Wait, oh, the guy stole my tweet.
He stole your
the guy stole my phrase. Somebody tweeted out, have you accepted Mary? Have you accepted the Blessed Virgin Mary as your personal mother and intercessor? So I quote tweeted him and I said, this is copyright infringement. We have a trademark on this phrase. Either give me credit or expect to hear from my elite lawyer. And Rob quote tweeted me and said, just so you know, we
don't have a trademark on it, and two, we don't have a lawyer.
So the point,
I thought you were talking about how I'm our version of Milo.
Oh, that one was funny too. Yeah, you're just bitchy, right?
Yeah. Well, that was your explanation. Of
Yeah.
it.
So look, the idea that you're going to go to hell because you're being based, right? And Calvin Robinson, to his credit, said, hey, this wasn't my most tasteful tweet, but what Trent did there was he combined two stories, and he said, that doesn't mean you don't have to have a heart for the migrant. It's like, what are you talking about? These people
aren't migrants. That's the thing. Like, these are legitimate invaders coming into Europe, coming into the United States, who cause crime, who cause devastation, and the U.S. Catholic bishops are some of the worst perpetrators of this illegal border crisis that we have right now. It's like I said on Joe McClain's show the other day. They need to be prosecuted by the federal government.
Nick, in many cases, like, this is not an exaggeration. In El Salvador, they emptied their prisons and said, you guys can leave if you leave the country. And these people came straight into America.
Prior to the new president. In El Salvador. That's in El Salvador.
Oh, you're saying that before the
guy in El Salvador put them all in concentration camps.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Guatemala, I think.
So what Trent is doing here is taking something Calvin said and then taking a totally different story and making it like Calvin was insensitive because two people died in this other story over here. Completely preposterous. You can play the rest of the clip. I want to see
it's honestly like someone complaining about police using the pit maneuver to stop a criminal escaping from them. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
This kind of maneuver can kill people. And so to gloat over it being done to migrants instead of soberly discussing it expresses a heartlessness that is unbecoming of a Christian.
Apparently the story he's talking about, it was the cops who died. So he's completely like misusing this thing.
One of the most heartless things I've seen people, including Christians, express has been.
Okay, so then he goes into the former OnlyFans girl thing. But my thing was, like, Trent has no problem picking people and criticizing them and giving straw man arguments. Like, he really that's the one thing I'm really like. I like Trent. We've had him on the show several times.
He does seem to be doing it more and more. Yeah.
But I like Trent. We've had him on the show. I think he's a really good apologist when it comes to like regular classic Catholic apologetics and stuff. But what he's doing lately is like Trent Horn doesn't seem to know who he is anymore. it seems like he went from being a Catholic apologist at Catholic Answers to understanding what'll get views.
I'm gonna say I think I know who he is, and I think he realizes he's a podcaster.
But he's not even a podcaster because he's not doing what we're doing and having conversations with people. He's going
a
the
content
drama
creator.
Content creator and content creation almost at its lowest form. Like we're doing this and criticizing him today. We don't do this regularly. It's like every once in a while something needs to be addressed and we'll bring it up. We did the Amber thing. We've done the Lofton thing. But 99% of our shows are like addressing things in the news, or we'll try to do a theological topic or whatever. But we don't do every episode. It seems like lately almost every episode Trent does is goes through what's happening on X and social media and calling people out publicly, because it's a very easy way to get views. Like I'm sure this video will get a lot of views because we're criticizing Trent Horn, and people do love drama. I
was gonna say, who does Trent Horn remind you of now if he's starting to do this?
A little bit like Lofton, right? And I don't mind if he has a legitimate criticism of somebody. Like if there's a legitimate criticism, fine. The thing with,
but then also have that person on, like we've had on, like we've had with Trent.
So the thing is, there are legit. Look, okay, so then he goes into the OnlyFans thing. I didn't cut that clip, but the girl Nala is. Look, there is a justifiable reason why people are uncomfortable with this girl going out and evangelizing.
Well, mostly it's because she's not Christian.
Right. Well, her Christology is all messed up. She doesn't even
just plain not a Christian. She doesn't.
She's just all over the place with her Christology. She doesn't even know what Christianity is, and she's out and she has this whatever understanding she thinks she has of Christianity, and she's blurting it out. Like there is. I'm not saying if somebody had that lifestyle can never be a public figure, never, but you're talking like a few months after. There should be some kind of like even like we were talking an episode or two ago, Nick was saying is like, a new convert should kind of stay in the background for a little bit, absorb everything, learn, not jump right into the spotlight. But when you're dealing with particular sins like prostitution, OnlyFans, things like that, it's a very similar situation to Michael Boris, right? So Michael Jones came out and wrote a whole book on Boris, how Boris was going after the bishops over the homosexuality thing. Like he was just obsessing on it. And Michael Jones wrote a whole book on, look, this guy has this sin in his past. When somebody has this sin in their past, it's a disordered lifestyle, and this will never just be something you could just get rid of and go away. And most people saw Michael Boris
like a serious drug addiction.
And it has serious consequences. These, like when you're talking about sins of the flesh, of that serious sins of the flesh, those have lifelong consequences. So for you to be the one to be on the crusade against that thing, the devil is going to play with you so bad and tempt you so hard to cave back into that old lifestyle. Now, a girl who did what Nala did,
it would be like a drug addict going to try to evangelize to drug dealers. Like there's something about you're putting yourself in that you really shouldn't.
There's something about when you go through AA, they tell you get all those people out of your life and cut them off, and you have to have no exposure to it. Right now, a woman like Nala, you're talking about something very specific here. It's a girl who was so hungry for attention, she was willing to show her body. Now she took that hunger for attention and just switched it over to, look at me, I'm a born again Christian. So you're still dealing with the same temptation. It's almost like in the movie Devil's Advocate. And at the very end of Devil's Advocate, you saw what's his name? Keanu Reeves' character at the end of it.
Amazing movie, but not one I'd recommend people.
Yeah, you can't, because there's a little bit of nudity in it. But at the very end of Devil's Advocate, Keanu Reeves' character is a lawyer, and the movie starts off with him being the defense lawyer for a PDF file, and he gets the guy off in the beginning of the movie, and that sets off his career, and he becomes this big time lawyer in New York, and he falls into all this temptation. The devil gets a hold of him. So in the end of the movie, the twist is he goes back in time, and he takes a stand, and he says, "I will not defend this PDF file," and you see Al Pacino's character, the devil, comes back and he goes, "Pride. Like because he refused to defend this character, all of a sudden everybody
he said it to a big news crowd, right?
Big news conference. Everybody's like, oh, what the lawyer who has a good conscience, and it was just playing on his part. It was the same exact sin from the beginning of the movie. He just twisted it and played it at a different angle. So it wasn't the money aspect of it, it was the fame and the vainglory of it, right? So we're dealing with a very similar thing here when girls go from being the attention whore in one aspect just to another aspect of it. You know, it's a very similar thing. Nick, I'm sure you got a ton on this. I'm sorry, I've been blabbing.
Oh no, I was just gonna give another example. I agree with everything you said. It reminded me of when I was like a year ago or whenever she converted. Tim Pool talked about how like the currency, like the social status currency, is going from wokeism to like based right pilled Christian, etc. And I was thinking about how true that was, because when you look at all of these companies, major corporations, or in particular the media corporations, losing a lot of followers or losing money hand over fist, what are they doing right now, especially post-election? They're getting rid of the DEI stuff, and they're getting rid of all of their woke companies, and they're trying to put in right-wingers. So what it is deep down, it's two things. It's a desire for money, a desire for attention or whatever, right? And ultimately pride rooted at that. People see that it's not working anymore, so they'll go to the right wing now to try to do their own purity spiral.
Well, if you want to bring it to this angle that you're talking about, let's go with this. Tulsi Gabbard goes from being a left-wing presidential candidate for the Democrats, and within 2 days of her going, you know, I kind of see things differently, the conservative media makes her the star. Right? Like, conservatives are so freaking gullible. Christians are so freaking gullible. They don't have this immediate jump to, oh, we forgive everything you did, no problem, which is a good instinct, right? Like, somebody that repents, you should forgive, but there's no period of reflection, there's no period of penance, nothing like that, right? So it's a very similar thing that's going on with these Christian girls that are doing this. And it happens in right-wing media all the time. Today I saw the Hodge twins tweet out, what's that freaking tranny what?
I don't know what his name actually is.
Truman? What?
What's it?
Starts with a B.
Blair White.
Oh, yeah.
The Hodge twins tweet out, Blair White is the most base chick ever. And they have an interview with her. And it's like, what? Like, what are we doing?
Well,
what are we doing as like, what are we doing? Do we have absolutely no standards whatsoever? Scott Pressler?
I don't know what their like particular views are, but I have found, at least in my brief time on Twitter, you have to take everything as a potential irony post. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like,
no, they interviewed her and they were like, she's not like the rest of these ones that do this.
Yeah, they're kind of the Steven Crowder crowd. So they meant it.
Oh, for sure they meant it.
Yeah. I think this brings up a good thing, though, or a good conversation topic, which is just that really when it gets down to it, why do people... I think you have to make a balance. You have to, on the one hand, make a balance between immediately like uplifting them to be the greatest thing since sliced bread. And then also at the same time, I think that the right wing, just like the left wing, has legit purity spirals that go out of control, to where I've thought about making a video called something like purity spiraling out of relevancy. Like, you're just so niche now that it no longer matters. So I think that like people just have to take things case by case and then really ask themselves questions about like what's going to happen. So it's like in our context, you know, the Catholic Church has zero public influence at the moment, has zero public influence, so few followers, so few of anything. So it's like we're a really niche crowd. So that's why I think a lot of times people do reach out to like secular figures who do come, like, if you will, closer to what we believe in, because they actually have some name recognition. It's like, do you think anybody in Washington, D.C., aside from maybe actually Trump, knows like who Father Ripperger really is? Or any of like the trad heroes or something like that? I mean, or even just like some of the mainstream. It's like how many people in legitimate positions of power know who like Father Mike Schmitz is? You know, like very, very little. We have zero major political influence. And so I think that's kind of the desire of why. And it's understandable. I think you can work with people who do disagree with you to a certain degree, but I think you have to also dialogue with them.
This is not just disagreement. This is episode 40. Miss Blair White is a cool girl. Blair might be trans, but she is not part of the LGBT cult. Blair does not recommend the lifestyle or impose it on anyone else. We dive deep into all the kinds of topics, the Trump win, the liberal meltdowns, and how trans surgeries actually work. It is crazy as hell. Nothing is off limits. Like, you people are so gullible and so disgusting. I'm just repulsed by it. The other thing I want to touch on with Trent, with this specific video of him saying how being based can send you to hell. Rob, I want you to go to the Scott Jennings clip and just play that real quick, because there's something happening in the culture right now, and I think a lot of people in the church are missing it, and it's going to happen in the church too. And I think right now the church is a bit downstream from the culture instead of the other way around. Usually, as the church goes, so goes the world. Right now, I think as the world goes, so is going to go the church. I think the church is a bit downstream from culture, and the church is missing out on this thing that is happening right now. So there's a Scott Jennings clip. Scott Jennings is a conservative commentator, but they put him on CNN. They had this whole conversation about how Kamala dropped the ball on men, and the Kamala campaign dropped the ball on men, and they don't really understand what's going on. And Scott Jennings kind of puts it into this, and I think it'll give us a little bit of a conversation we could jump into.
I do think we have a crisis of especially young men in this country, and they're, in many ways, disconnected from the rest of their families, disconnected from their communities, disconnected from our political culture, disconnected from our civil culture. And that's a real problem for a society that depends on all of us to be engaged and working together to make it as good of a country and as good of a society as it can be. I think the Democrats in this election made men feel like that the patriarchy is over, boys, and we're going to put you in the back seat for a while, and you're just going to have to accept it, without any thought to the ramifications of telling people who are out honestly trying to make a living, provide for their families, be good husbands, be good fathers. When you tell people who are doing their level best that either A, it's not good enough, or B, you're part of the problem, what do you expect? And then finally, as a political tactic, the attempt to put walls on the ticket, and that was going to somehow solve all of the problems that had been built up for years, was ridiculous, because it turns out Walz was the last person that men wanted to hear from. And I remember at the beginning of that whole campaign, when they put him on, I sat right here and people were like, oh, they got camouflaged hats. They're going to be wearing them in the deer stands this fall. And I think to your point that you just made, that was not that idea that it was not formulated by a bunch of dudes who actually go deer hunting. It was come up with by a bunch of people who've never met a dude that actually goes deer hunting. But when you try to put that kind of window dressing on a real communications problem or a real relationship problem.
The hats weren't even blaze orange. You can't wear them deer hunting.
I feel bad for Tim Walz in so many ways. Man, poor guy.
But what he's talking about, right? What the culture's been doing to young men has been going on for a long time now. It's been happening for a very long time. And you see it seemed as if the culture was moving in a very specific direction and that the patriarchy was over. But what was happening in the background was the manosphere was growing. And you had podcasts like the Whatever podcast and Fresh and Fit and Pearl Davis. And these people are starting to talk about women and how women are starting to talk about what feminism has done to women. I don't agree with any of the prescriptions those guys give to fix the problem, but they all do see the problem with what feminism has done to women over the past 100 years or so, right? But it's really culminated bad in the past 20 years. The church has been doing the same thing. You see them with even this latest sin. Oh, we're still going to study women being in the diaconate, and we have to find greater roles for women in the church. What they don't seem to see is this momentum building amongst men, and men are sick of it, and men are going to have had enough. I mean, we've pretty much had enough. We're tired of the girl boss. I'm tired of the Nancy Maces. I'm tired of the MTGs. I'm tired of the freaking Lauren Boeberts. I'm tired of all of them. I don't want to see the conservative girl boss. I don't want to see the liberal girl boss. I'm done with the girl boss stuff. It's disordered. I don't like it. And I think a lot of men are starting to feel that way. And the church is going to be affected by this. And somebody like Trent tried to do the all the problems with liberal Catholicism. And then he went and did the book All the Problems with Conservatives and the rad trads and things like that. And now he seems to be focused really on the manosphere, right? He had that debate with Pearl. Then he keeps calling out like all these Christians that are criticizing Nala. Now, what I will say is, if you're just saying something to a girl like Nala, like, oh, you're a whore, blah, 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 like, you're going about it wrong. You really are. You can't just flat out say stuff like that. I saw there's this new there's a Jewish girl who just converted, and she's talking about the beauty of the faith and stuff, and she had a picture of her. She was in, she's in a very short a short dress.
War Against Beauty or something is her profile.
Yeah, the War Against Beauty or something like that. And people just lambasted this girl. And it's like, you gotta give people a minute. Like, you can't just come out and just pile on these people. And it was my first instinct too. So I didn't actually quote tweet her, but I was like, I subtweeted it, and I was like, can we just have like women go into church and not dress like they're planning an OnlyFans shoot? But I didn't realize she was a new convert. As soon as I found out she was a new convert, I deleted the tweet. Like, we do have to give people a minute to adjust to the culture, and you can't just lambast everybody. And look, I'll give Trent this.
Especially when most of the Catholic culture is not Catholic.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And I'll give Trent this. Like, you can lose your soul on Twitter. Like, you absolutely can. I'm not saying he's totally wrong. I just don't like
you can make your soul making videos where you straw man people too.
That's my issue. I don't like the straw manning of positions here. Like, be honest about what's going on. Don't just call Calvin Robinson out because he's Calvin Robinson. It's going to catch a lot of views, and it's like, this is
good thing we would never do that.
Well, Trent Horn needs to worry because, I mean, trust me, by preconciliar standards, he's a raging liberal, and I proved that in my video that'll be coming out fairly soon. But I think you bring a lot of good points up, Anthony, when it comes to feminism. I think, though, that one thing that's not talked about a lot, that one of the reasons why you see a lot of young men going to the right wing, feminism's part of it, right? The inability to find a girlfriend to get married, that's a part of it. A lot of it, though, is the inability to actually get a good paying job and affordability, whether that's housing, affordability with, expendable income, what have you, people just aren't making money. And so guys nowadays, they're looking around and, we all feel this. If you're a guy out there, we want to have some type of sense of purpose, some type of direction, some type of meaning in life, some type of goal to work towards. And guys just don't have that. As you've been seeing online, there's no new continents to explore. There's no major adventures really to be had, and we can't even do. I think
Russia's taking volunteers.
Exactly. There's not the basics though of what you could be aspiring to. So it's like, okay, if lots of young guys can't get married, lots of young guys can't afford anything, lots of young guys don't have a purpose, they're going to get blackpilled. They're going to go off into pretty some extreme territory. The Catholic Church has the opportunity, as I've said for a long time, to reach out to young men and say, hey, you do have a purpose. It's to become a saint. Is it easy? No, it's actually very, very hard. But you can do so by the grace of God.
Come on,
and get out there. But they're not going to
make a website.
No, I know, but they're not going to. And the reason they're not going to is because we have a bunch of filthy sodomites who are in most of the positions of power who do not give a rip about people's salvation. And they don't give a rip about people's salvation because if they did, they would be preciously guarding like a Templar knight the deposit of faith and wanting to pass that down to the people. But they're not going to, and they never will.
Okay, so I want to know why it is that we get this criticism, but Trent doesn't. It's like, you guys need to actually start reading the epistles of St. Paul and how you need to get along with other Christians rather than sit in your bubble and bash everyone. This is not just bashing Trent. I think we're being very fair and reasonable. Like, I'm assuming Trent's going to watch this. I'm assuming he's going.
And if he wanted to talk about it, we would have him on.
100%. Like, I like Trent. Trent and I have enough of a friendship.
I'm basically his brother with Jufro. Like, come on.
If Trent wants to challenge what I'm saying, I'm not attacking his character.
I would recommend if we're gonna use the epistles of St. Paul, check out reading the book of Galatians chapter 3. He's calling them fools and idiots for being bewitched, for believing in false doctrine. So I would say I agree with you this. Yes, should we, for instance, like Anthony was bringing up, be easy with converts? Yes, because converts, they're drinking the milk of the word. They haven't they're not ready for the meat of the word yet. So we need to be chill on that. But also, like, yeah, I mean, if Trent's going to start like making his whole show, I'm going to criticize people but not talk to them, like that's not cool either.
I don't know what the context of this was. I mean, I don't know what Tim said. Which video?
Probably a racist comment against Italians.
Was it bad? I don't know. I don't know what the context was. But
I'm getting better with my Italian racism, by the way. I went to lunch with an Italian today, believe it or not.
The greatest of Italian restaurants, Olive Garden.
He was a northern Italian though, so at least he wasn't a mongrel. But are we ready for one of Nick's videos?
Well, I think we should actually go over to locals and do Nick's videos.
Yeah, that's fine with me.
Okay, if that's fine with me.
I think we should go over to locals and do Nick's video because Nick's videos are a little more spicy than mine.
Unless you're wanting to pick that specific one.
No, not that one.
We got a couple of spicier videos, and I think Nick does want to get in a little bit, and I don't want to do another hour over here on it. So, look, I all I can say is my issue with Trent is when I feel he strawmans positions. I think that Trent is very good when he's in certain lanes. I think he's a good debater. I like seeing conversations he has. I don't like when he's doing these monologues videos and calling out other creators or other personalities and just kind of going the route of just going to criticize people for views like that. That's okay. It's okay to do something specific if something is said that really does need to be addressed. And I'm not saying he doesn't make any good points in that video. I think there was a couple that I saw that I was like, oh, okay, yeah, you know, maybe we do need to back off a little bit here.
The base of what he's saying is correct.
Yeah. You can go to hell if you are just irony posting like crazy. And but I was probably the reason we really did this video is because I didn't make the list. Like I don't get it. I mean, how does this guy not
if we had made the list, it would have been that night front and center, literally hours after he released his.
That's real.
What do you mean?
That's true.
Anytime someone mentions your name, it's instant.
It's what?
It's instant. Anytime someone mentions your name.
I don't know. Right.
You wouldn't have been able to help yourself.
Oh no!
If he had mentioned you, it would have been right then.
Yeah. We would have. I would have been on literally 30 seconds after.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I got it now. I didn't know where you got. I'm like, what are you talking about? All right, so we're gonna go over to locals. We're gonna get into Nick's videos. Nick's got some like in-depth clips. He's also got a video coming out on his channel where he really goes into it. But Nick does things in a way more scholastic way. I like to just, speak from the heart. Nick, I'm sure, did a way better, more in-depth theological breakdown of where Trent is wrong. Mine is just like, dude, if you're gonna fire shots, do it.
So
yeah, and my video is very like chill in the sense that like it's not a like let's flame Trent Horn video. It's very much so like, hey, let's just discuss these theological points. And for the record, I also covered Jimmy Akin in the video, some of the latest controversies. But I invite them both on the show. I'm like, hey, if you guys want to come on and talk about this with me, and maybe I'm misquoting you, maybe I don't fully understand your position, come on. Same thing with this show. It's like if Trent disagrees with us or wants to dialogue about this said subject about irony poisoning on the line, I'm sure we'll be cool to have him on and we can chat about it.
Yeah, because I am guilty of it, right? So and I do try to take fraternal correction at times. I mean, Rob, I can't tell you how many times Rob has texted
That's
me like,
literally my job.
Yeah, and this one's too much, and I'll delete something. Like I do listen to people.
Either you are getting a lot better at it, or you've really poisoned me because I don't do it near as often.
Yeah, I think I poisoned you a bit. I think the Carlo Acutis one was a bit of me rubbing off on you. Like, I don't think your heart wasn't really in that. You just knew it would kind of ruffle.
All I said is I don't get it. That's all I did.
Doesn't matter. He's going to be the CNN host.
It was literally like the most agnostic post about the subject ever. And I have 300 replies from people pissed at me.
True. Very true, Joseph. I want to accompany Trent.
I've been
all right, so we're gonna head over to locals. That's where we have all the real fun. I'm trying to. I think I have a few other things besides the Trent stuff that we could get to. There's actually. Wait, real quick, before we go, there is.
Adrian, I can't put your tweet on because I had to approve it, so it won't show up in our pop up. But Adrian says, Anthony appears like a crack addict whenever someone mentions his name.
So true. So true. I think if Anthony was making serious money hand over fist on this show, he would spend his entire day 24/7 live streaming, but then live streaming of him just on Twitter responding to people. Like, that's what
he's live streaming, writing a tweet basically.
Exactly.
We have a story about a Brooklyn priest who was ousted. He's the one who allowed the Sabrina Carpenter music video that we could touch on that over there. We have the U.S. bishops call out the federal gender identity rule, which part of me wants to say, good. I don't want the bishops getting any more federal money and getting out of this stuff anyway.
Yeah,
so
I want ICE to show up and have a conversation with those bishops.
It'll make part of me, like even the adoption thing, when they said that any adoption agencies had to allow same-sex couples to adopt children, and at first when that happened, we were all outraged. We were like, no, the Catholic Church has to be able to. But the way they caved to that, it's like, good. Maybe they should get out of all these things. Like, I don't want them dealing with the migrant issue. You know what? Let's get back to being a church who actually cares for her own people and stop taking federal grant money for things. So maybe we could discuss that story and see where that's going to go. But guys, we appreciate you tuning in on a Friday night. We're going to go over to the other side. There's 337 people watching. I don't know how many likes we got. How many likes we got?
We have, it doesn't tell me.
I don't know. But you guys could be liking.
We have too few likes.
Too few likes. Not enough of you are subscribed. We need subscribers. We need likes.
I mean,
we are a little bit out of the subscriber.
We have 121 likes, so only a third of you that are watching have liked this.
We are a little bit out of the subscriber run. I see the numbers readjusting and getting back to a little bit of normalcy. Not crazy, but a little bit of more normalcy like they used to be. Every time I check,
go over and subscribe to the Traditional Thomas, because we are 30 subscribers away from hitting 10K. And
come on,
plan for 10K.
Yeah, go and hook Nick up. If you're not subscribed to the Traditional Thomas, help Nick hit 10K. Oh, Kale, you missed a good one, bud. You popped in right.
Kale, we got to do it. We got to do our Communio versus Scholasticism show eventually.
Jeez, what are you guys? What's your channel now? The Meaning of Catholic.
So true, though. Except this time we'll actually talk about Catholic things.
That's an inside joke.
Somebody saying only 32 likes. I'll be really upset with you guys.
121 is what it said.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
All right, guys, we're going over to local. Take us out.
Hold on. Let me post the locals link here for everyone in the live chat, anyways. So if you're watching later, it's in the live chat. I'm not going to put it in the description. That's annoying. Okay.
All right, guys. We'll see you on the other side.
Adios.
What one do I want to play?
Oh, this is awkward.
You never wait till I'm ready to tell me.
Jamie stinks tonight, guys. I don't know what to tell you.
Rip.
I snapped my
one. Oh, play that.
No, because it doesn't cover. Okay, hold on.
I snapped my fingers. You forget that you were ever gay.
I was never gay.
Exactly.
Wait, no, stop.
Yes.
No, stop. You can't. I was never gay.
Okay.
No, I was never gay.
Sure.
You can't just state something, then snap your fingers and then be like, I was never gay.
If you say so.